Alright, hey, what's up guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football. We're going to do a video today talking about the things you need to think about when choosing what style of defense you want to play. We've hit on this in some other areas when I did a video talking about why would you use a 3-4 or some of the reasons we used to use the 3-3 stack. I'm going to go through my idea of what you need to be thinking about when choosing a defense for your program. Make sure you check out some of our partners, Dome Hats, the headwear partner for Play Fast and the school that I'm currently at. Here's our most recent Play Fast snapback hat. If you like customizable hats, check out Dome. Baker Sporting Goods, who takes care of all of my uniforms for my football team, my coach's apparel, Spirit Pack shirts, or practice shirts like this, and also fan gear through a fan store. Check them out. Just Play Football, the best play drawing tool on the market. If I'm going to do anything for my Patreon site, or if I'm going to speak at a clinic, or if I'm going to do a presentation for coaching staffs, I always use Just Play Football. Game Strat sideline replay system we use. I've used it for the last 4 years. Absolutely love them. Almost never an issue with hardware. And anytime you do have any issues, they are there on game day. Immediate call. They answer all the time. Somebody will get on the phone with you to help you through your problems. So check out Game Strat, DifferenceUSA, ultimate striking machine. Get thousands of reps, elbows in, thumbs up. All right, you can do it in the weight room. You can do it in the off season. You can do it outside on the practice field. So make sure you check out DifferenceUSA, HighandTight. Ball security training aid, instant auditory feedback. You have to hold that ball in the proper position, proper points of pressure. If you do that, you hear a beep. Now you know muscle memory, that's where the ball should be. If that wrist gets a little bit low, that elbow gets out, or you lose the pressure that you need on a football, you don't hear the beep, you know you're doing something wrong. StandPerfect training aid we use with younger kids, and then early in the season, in the spring, in the summer, put them down on the ground where you want stances to be. So instead of having to talk about, hey, it needs to be a little bit longer, a little bit wider, it needs to be heel toe, it needs to be 4 inches, 6 inches, put them on the ground where you want them. The kids get in them, they feel what the stance feels like. Hey, that's how I want you to play, that's the stance I want you to use, and now you can get more reps, eliminating all the buzzwords that you need to talk about. All right, so we just finished our season, finished up 3-7, struggled a little bit with defensively. Especially, we had a decent year on offense. We statistically were pretty good. Probably relied too much on big plays and couldn't sustain enough drives to win some of the games that were winnable games for us. But defensively is where we really struggled. So when you get into the offseason, the first thing you start thinking about is, are we playing the right defense schematically? All right, so I'm going to take you through the things that I think about and the things I think that you should think about when thinking about a defense or an offense. It doesn't really matter. It usually is the same. So the first thing I think about all the time is personnel. Are we in the right scheme for the personnel that we have? I'm going into my 7th year at the high school I'm at, so I'm comfortable knowing the bodies that I usually have, the bodies I have returning, the JV kids I had, the bodies I've had for the last 6 years. So I'm comfortable knowing what those body types in this school are like. If you have been at a place for a little while, you should understand the body types that you get in your school year in and year out, so you can understand the type of structure that might be better at your school. Now, if you go to a new school, if you're a DC at a new school, or you get a head coaching job in a new school, you're going to have to evaluate the roster. You're going to have to look at film from the year before. But it's a little bit tougher, in my opinion, because you don't have a 6, 7, 8 year database of the types of bodies that have continually rolled in. So I know from year to year it's going to change slightly. But for us at the school I'm at, we don't get a ton of defensive linemen. All right, so I know that we're probably more often than not going to have to be an odd front team because I can't find 4 defensive linemen, let alone 6 to 8 defensive linemen. Now, we were a 4-2-5 team at one point, and we had some good defensive linemen, but struggling to find their backups was tougher. So I know at the school I'm at, statistically, or through the years that I've been here, however you want to look at it, I know the body types I have are more conducive for us to be an odd front team. If you go to a new school, you're going to have to watch film, you're going to have to look at the roster, you're going to have to check the young kids out, you're going to have to figure out who they've been. You might even have to go back 5 or 6 years to watch film to figure out who they've been, because we can't go out and find the bodies we want. In college, if they make a change and they say, hey, we're going to be a 3-4 team, they can go out and recruit 3-4 bodies. If the NFL makes a change, they can now go out in the draft or in free agency and work their roster around the change that they're making. In high school, we can't do that. So the personnel that you have is to me, probably the #1 thing you need to look at when choosing a scheme on defense. The coaching staff you have. Can the guys on your staff teach the defense that you want to teach? If you're going to be playing pattern match coverages on the back end, do you have a corners and safeties coach that are good enough to teach the ins and outs of the pattern match. If you're a rip-liz match team and maybe multiple insertion post safety defense, do you have the guys that can teach that defense? How many defensive coaches do you have? If you're a 3-4 team and you need a D-line coach for the down three, 2 outside backers, so you get a coach there, 2 inside backers, they get a coach, safeties get a coach, corners get a coach, now you might need an extra coach. If you're a 4-2-5 team, D-line coach, inside linebacker coach, do you let one guy handle the nickel and the other 2 safeties, or do you let one guy handle a nickel while somebody else handles the safeties and the corners, or does somebody handle the entire back end? So your coaching staff, the knowledge of your coaching staff, their knowledge in the scheme, your ability to teach those guys, if it's a scheme they're not familiar with, how many of those coaches you have, and how often can they be here in the off-season? Are they on-campus guys, off-campus guys? Can they get here in the off-season to learn? Or are you always going to be a little bit behind the 8 ball because if they're off-campus guys, you can't meet as much, you can't talk as much, so your coaching staff will always play a big role in the defense that you choose. The opponents, all right? Now, when I first learned about defensive football as a graduate assistant in college, my defensive coordinator at the time, who was also my wide receiver coach, told me the first thing you need to look at is you need to have a defensive structure that can defend the best 2 teams in your conference. All right, so you have to be able to beat the best 2 teams in your conference so that you can become a conference champion. So, if you're in the SEC West, you got to figure out how to beat Alabama. If you're in the SEC East right now, you got to figure out how to beat Georgia. The ACC, it's been Clemson. Big Ten, it's been Ohio State. Big 12, it's been Oklahoma. Every conference has top dogs, blue bloods, however you want to look at it. And in high school, it might change a little bit here to there or season to season, but a lot of times it's the same. So you should always pick a structure that is conducive to beating the teams that you need to beat to be a district or a conference champion. All right, so if you see a wing team in your district or your conference, and they're the best team year in and year out in your area in that district, you better have a defense that can handle the wing T. If you see a flexbone team that's going to be triple option, Army, Navy, type deals, you better have a defense that can handle the flexbone. Now, this has changed a little bit in my opinion because I think in today's game, a lot of offenses become similar in a lot of ways. We see a ton of gap schemes. We see a ton of power, a ton of counter. We don't see a lot of wide zone. We don't see a ton of inside zone. All right, we see a ton of power, counter, and all the plays with motions and shifts and trades that come off of that, all the read game that comes off of that, some RPOs or deals off of that. So regardless of whether we see 2x2, 2x1, 21, 20, 11, we still see a lot of the same schemes. So I think it's a little bit easier for us to basically pick a defensive structure that says, hey, we got to be sound against gap schemes. We have to make sure that we know we're sound against gap schemes. So originally when I learned how to play it was, hey, we've got to recruit and build around beating the best in the conference or the district if we want to be a district champion, and then our defense has to be good enough against the other teams to allow us to win a district championship. I think it's changed a little bit, but I still think year to year when I'm in certain districts, I still think about the structure I'm using and is it going to be good against the teams we play in our district. All right? Is it flexible? Is it adjustable? So when you come in on Monday after your meetings, do you have to make 17 changes because of the offense you're playing, or is your defense very flexible and adjustable to multiple systems? Or multiple offenses. So if you've got to spend a lot of time adjusting fronts or adjusting secondary play or calls or field or boundary, if you got to spend a lot of time doing that, your defense might be too rigid. It might not be flexible enough. It might be good once you get all the pieces in place, but if you spend a lot of time having to get pieces in place, you're going to spend less time on techniques and fundamentals. So I'm always looking for something that is constant, right? Something that can stay similar. Because with the kids we have at the school I'm at, they need very little variation. They need to do the same things over and over again, see the same pictures. You're always going to have slight nuances and wrinkles, but the more you can get them to retain the same information Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the better chance you're going to have. If you have kids that seem to struggle with retention, all right, when you go ahead and put the wrinkles in on Monday, by Tuesday or Wednesday, they may forget what you just did on Monday. All right, and I know that that's something we struggle with a little bit is, when we go out for Monday installs, if we don't hit it again on Tuesday and Wednesday, or when we do go to hit it again on Tuesday or Wednesday, we need that constant reminder to say, hey guys, remember the adjustment, the wrinkle, whatever it is. So if you can keep things as consistent as possible within your run fits, within your pressures, your coverages, your kids will have a better chance to play. And if it's adjustable and very easily adjustable, all right, then your kids will have a better chance to play week in and week out because you'll spend less time making major changes. All right? Do you have answers? Do you have answers for the things that are getting you beat? Do you have answers from week to week when you're struggling with your base defense? Can you build enough answers into your defense? All right? Or does your scheme or your structure provide you with enough answers, whether those be movements, pressures, coverage adjustments? Do you have the right people on the field to make those adjustments, to have answers? All right, so that when your base is getting beat or when you're outmanned a little bit, you've got a couple answers you can go to that your kids can play within your defense. All right, and then the simplicity of it so that you can play fast. So this past year we switched and we played a lot of tight front three high safety defense. And one of the reasons we made the change was structurally from a coverage standpoint, nothing changed on the back end. We just had to teach the third high safety how to fit into coverages like a Mike linebacker. So when we played our two read stuff, the third high safety was basically the guy that when three pushed, he had to relate to the new number three. So he just became the Mike. So for us, the change to me was simple in nature because the back end and the coverages never changed. We could still do the things to the single we wanted to do. We could still do things to trips that we wanted to do. So I looked at it as a very simple adjustment. We were just playing a third safety instead of a linebacker. And to me, it was very simple. Now, to the kids, it may not be simple, and that's another thing that you got to think about all the time, is what's simple to you may not be simple to the kids. But the more you can keep things simple, the easier it is for your kids to play fast, right? Originally, when I came up with the name of Play Fast Football, it wasn't about tempo on offense. It was about playing fast, meaning your kids know what they're doing. On game nights, they can line up and they can play fast. So a lot of times when we're doing different videos, I think some of the things people need to keep in mind, every video we do, that doesn't mean I carry all that stuff in my game plans. Every time we do a different video, that doesn't mean that I'm using all of those things or teaching all of those things to the kids. A lot of times I'm doing videos on things that we may not do, we may not play, just because somebody wanted me to do the video or just because it was an interesting topic. Okay, so we even got to the point this year, towards the end of the year, we played mostly man structures on the back end because we were struggling with our pattern match. And our kids weren't playing the way I wanted them to play. So in order to make it easier on them, we started playing some more man combinations and working more on bracketing and how to play man at different levels and all the things that we needed to do in man because it made it a little bit simpler for them to play fast. Now, we ran into the issues that you're going to run into in man defense. If you don't tackle the ball carrier, you're going to give up big runs. All right, if you don't get guys covered or if you bust on bracket coverages, you're going to give up big plays. All right, so it's not like it's an immediate instant fix, but for our kids it was a fix because it allowed them to play and line up a little bit quicker, make less adjustments, less coverage calls, and it made their responsibilities a little bit easier. So I'm always trying to err on the side of simplicity so that our kids can play fast. When I put new plays in on offense, I keep the same blocking schemes. I never put a new play in that is a completely different blocking scheme. I might change the formation, I might change the presentation, I might add a back to the backfield, but I'm still going to run what my 3-4 base plays are on offense because I don't want to screw the offensive lineman up. So it's always about simplicity because it's always about getting your kids to be confident and play fast. I hope this helps you guys if you're figuring out about changing. This is the time of year. If you're going to change, this is the time of year where you start to investigate making changes and you start to go out and talk to people about what they do. And if it's something that you want to do, you go out and get that information from people about what they've had success with, what they struggle with, how they teach it, what's the pedagogy of the teaching, how do they practice. So this is that time of year where if you're going to make a change, you need to think about, all right, these things, figure out what it is that you want to do that's best for your program, and then go out and study and learn at clinics and visit other high schools or visit colleges and try and figure out a place that does what you want to do and go out and make yourself more knowledgeable on that subject. All right, I hope this helps you guys. I'm sure these are things that you guys already know about, already do. All right, but for me, it's fresh in my mind because we're coming off of 3-7. I can't sit back and say that we're going to do the same things the same way because that would just be the definition of insanity. So we need to make a change. We need to figure out what we can do a little bit better on defense. So this time of year, these are the things that I'm thinking about right now. I'm going through all these things, and then I'm going to figure out what I like that fits all these things, and I'm going to come up with what we need to be working on in the off season going into the spring, the summer, and to next year. If you are not a subscriber, make sure you click that subscribe button. If you are a subscriber, turn your notifications on so you know every time we do a video or anytime I go on YouTube Live. Always thumbs up, thumbs down. If you don't like the video, that's your opinion. It lets us know, and it lets me know the type of content that you want or how I deliver the content. Always leave a message. If it's about football, I will respond to you. Again, even if it's a negative comment, it's your opinion. I appreciate you watching the video. We don't have to agree. That's what makes football so great. I'm never going to get angry about a negative comment. I'm just going to give you my opinion on what the comment is, but I always respond. I love interacting with the Play Fast community. So make sure you leave a message and I will try and get back to you. If it's about a video you want me to do and I feel like I can do it, I'll ask you a few questions to say, hey, what do you want to see? If I can do it, I'll try and do that video. All right, so I appreciate everything you guys do for me. If you're still playing, good luck to you. Good luck in the playoffs. Good luck in your championship games. If you're not playing, good luck in your off season. Let's all work to get better. Let's all work to get back to the game that we love so much. Remember, you won't play well until you play fast, and I will see you guys next time.